Today is the 22nd regular meeting of the Lake County Board of Commissioners. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our meeting today. May our discussions be fruitful, our decisions wise, and our community strong. Amen.
Amen.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Present.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Present.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Here. Gentlemen, you have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of May 28, 2026. Can I have a motion to approve, waiving reading of the same?
So moved.
Second.
Minutes have been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Aye.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye. This brings us to public portion. Before we take public portion, I believe Commissioner Plechnik is going to recite the Declaration of Independence for us, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Chair of America 250 and as a member of the Board of Commissioners, today we are reciting the Declaration of Independence in celebration of our nation's semi-quincentennial. And we further encourage that every public body in Lake County, all of our city and village councils, our townships, our school boards, all of our public bodies do the same so that we might remember the birth of freedom. And I quote, in Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasion on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remaining, in the meantime, exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt down our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind enemies in war, in peace, friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. And that, as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else for public comment today? Yes, sir.
Frank Lamberno in the building behind us.
Fair enough. That's good enough.
So you opened up Pandora's box. So just a couple quick comments. Because I think when people hear the Declaration of Independence today, they hear blah, 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 blah. It's important to break this down. There are 1,400 words in the Declaration of Independence. Actually, 1,500 words. There's 200 words at the beginning, 1,400. 200 at the beginning, 200 end, and 1,000 in the middle that stipulate all our issues with Great Britain. If you trace this back, Thomas Hobbes was a philosopher who believes kings were appointed for life, and no one had a right to oppose the king. John Locke, who our founding fathers founded or followed, was a philosopher who said government must serve the people, people do not serve the government. And when the people have enough issues with the government, it is their right to overthrow that government. That's why the 1,000 words in the middle is so important for our founding fathers to tell all of Europe, we don't do this for light or transient causes. It was important for them to know we are overthrowing a government because it no longer serves the people. In the last 200 words, it's important to note they call Great Britain the state of Great Britain, and ask for 13 independent states, not states, states. It was the original intention to have 13 independent states that would make up the United States, who would all operate independently and only get together in times of war. The problem is that never worked well, nor did the currency. That's why in 1787 they got rid of the Articles of Confederacy and established the United States under the United States Constitution. These two documents are key. One is why we exist, and then the Constitution is how we will exist. And when government fails to serve the people, we fail the people who have a right to ask us to serve them judiciously and do our jobs as they ask us to do. So I think that's important for people to understand, that this Declaration of Independence is our agreement to work together to have a government that serves the people. That's enough of the teacher in me. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
if I could simply follow along the Sheriff's historical analysis, yes, Thomas Jefferson was the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and John Locke was one of his great inspirations. the Enlightenment philosopher who inspired so many of our founding fathers and mothers. But Thomas Jefferson was in possession of a very remarkable text, the 6 Books of the Republic by Jean Bodin, which he had initialed and marked up on certain pages as he read about systems of government and deciding what we should aspire to in founding the United States of America. And he found a very remarkable retelling of how the Dukes of Carinthia were chosen in a duchy called Carinthia, Proto-Slovenia, what ultimately became the country or the nation of Slovenia in Europe, whereby the Duke was ultimately crowned by a peasant. There was an old Roman pillar that had fallen over, and tradition was in Carinthia that the would-be Duke, dressed as a commoner, would sit on the pillar only after he approached it, where there was a commoner already sitting on the pillar. And the commoner would slap the Duke across the face and say, "You're merely a servant of the people." And the would-be Duke would agree, and only after agreeing to be a servant, because all power comes from the people, would he be allowed to sit on the old Roman pillar known as the throne of the Dukes of Carinthia, which is housed in a museum in Austria today. And so this retelling was in the Books of the Republic, which Thomas Jefferson possessed. We know this because his copy is in the Library of Congress today, and he initialed those pages, so we know he read them. No less than President Bill Clinton and Senator Frank Lausche of Ohio have said that they believe that the Declaration of Independence and the fundamental principle that power comes from the people, that government only rightly derives its power from consent of the governed, came from Thomas Jefferson's reading of the 6 Books of the Republic and its retelling of how the Dukes of Carinthia were crowned by the people, not by some natural right where kings were destined and entitled to reign forever, but rather that all public officials serve by consent of the government and all power comes from the people.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the board on agenda items? Yes.
My name is Cheryl Lawrenson, live in Wickliffe, first time here. I do want to state, I listened to your meeting from about a week or 2 ago yesterday. This is in regards to the property taxes in the schools. Mr. McIntosh, I personally emailed you about 3 weeks ago asking you to consider to extend the homestead exemption and owner occupancy credit. With no pun intended, I was disappointed that I did not get a reply stating that you had even received it. I can tell you, my husband and I are going on 44 years of marriage. We just paid off our home of 33 and a half years. First home, last home. When my husband, the company he worked for, left Cleveland, and he was able to sign up for the homestead exemption. My husband's going to be 75 in October. I'm 64. The homestead exemption, when our home got paid off in February, the mortgage company said, no, we did not pay your first half, so we flew up here to pay our property tax. I can tell you that the homestead exemption for myself and my husband helped us tremendously. For the year, we paid $1,375.42 for the full year. We are paid up till February of next year for our property taxes. Unlike ourselves, there's many other senior citizens and veterans and disabled individuals that are eligible for the homestead exemption. Helped. It also lowered what we pay out to the Wickliffe City School District, which we were paying close to a little over $1,300 coming off our property taxes. The community end part of it that we pay is far less than what it is to the schools. Schools receive plenty of money off of property taxes and businesses. 72.29% Wycliffe receives from businesses, Lubrizol, etc., in the city of Wycliffe. We are not a big community, little over 13,000. The enrollment in these schools are down. Mentor is approximately 1,000 students less than what they had. Wycliffe this year graduated 91 students. Last year, it was 113. My husband graduated in 71. He had over 300 in his class from Wycliffe High School. So I'm here to say, as a senior citizen, not just speaking for my husband and I, but for the others, that you would take into consideration to do what you did this year for next year, because we know that our property taxes are going up next year anywhere from 15 to 25%.
Thank you.
So I thank you
Appreciate it.
for hearing me.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Yes.
Christina Andow, Kirtland Board of Education. So polar opposite of that. What time? I'm not only here in a board capacity, I'm just here for myself. I'm a mom, we live in Kirtland. I went to Wycliffe, graduated from there. It's a great small town. I love Kirtland because it resembles Wycliffe a lot with its own unit. You know, we're not too large like Willoughby, Eastlake. So my questions are you considering what benefits all of your constituents with the tax revision? All of them, all of the people that voted for you, with this continuing to carry on. The schools are losing a lot of money, and we are losing students. I often think those go hand in hand. Our enrollment is going to be down next year in the graduating classes. The enrollment continues to go down. Is it because we're losing the money, we can't offer the services, people leave, they get aggravated, they leave, the enrollment's down, we lose money? In my opinion, it's just a circle. And then I guess my question, rhetorical, is are the people benefiting from the tax break aware of the other things that are suffering from this loss, other services that may not be the school? And I know it's easy to say, well, I don't have kids in the school, I don't care about the school, which is disheartening to see any support against public schools, because that's just how things have always been. But other things, you know, community centers and senior centers, police and fire services. I know it's easy to just kind of, you know, pick out the school and think, well, we need to, you know, tighten our belt. And our belt is tight. It is tight. And I'm on the board to learn more about that and how else can we tighten our belt and how can we offer the same great district with less coming in, because we don't want our kids to feel the impact of losing funds. We don't have a huge admin staff. Our superintendent is grossly underpaid. We just approved his contract last night, grossly underpaid. And everybody pitches in to give 100% so that the kids don't feel any of the pinch. Of course, seniors and people to whom it applies getting a reduction, absolutely, as they always have. But the doubling it's hurting us. We are feeling it. And this is just, you know, year one. So that's what I have to say on that subject. I hope you consider not continuing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, public portion is closed. Madam Clerk, please proceed with the resolutions.
And you
excuse me. In the Utilities Department, resolution recommending the acceptance of the Jackson Street Sewer Extension in the City of Mentor, job number 17-07.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye.
Resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within the Lake County Department of Utilities Water Fund and Fund Number 595 for Project 469W 2023 West End Service Center Fuel Storage Tank Replacement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye.
Resolution approving plans, specifications, and estimates of cost in the amount of $866,575 for the Madison Trunk Sewer Replacement Phase 1, Project Number 492S 2025, and advertising for bids for same. Bid opening July 8th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution reappointing Michael Hatton to the Lake County Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board for a 4-year term commencing July 1st, 2026.
Mr. President, so
Yes.
moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would like to take this opportunity to thank Michael Hatton, retired Colonel Marty Phillips, Chief Francis Kovacic for their willingness to serve on the Adams Board, and also thank Matthew Banggerter for his willingness to continue on the Public Defender Commission. Our boards and commissions are volunteer. They require enormous amounts of time, effort, and energy to husband resources and lead these agencies. And it's no small sacrifice to serve. So we thank all of them for their willingness to step up for their community.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye.
Resolution reappointing Martin A. Phillips III to the Lake County Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board for a 4-year term commencing July 1st, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye.
Resolution appointing Francis Kovacic to the Lake County Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board for a 4-year term commencing July 1st, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I just want to point out, I appreciate all three of these gentlemen, as you remarked earlier. I believe Michael and Colonel Phillips, retired Colonel Phillips, are reappointed to the board. Chief Kovacic from Eastlake is stepping up. I believe Chief Sabo from Concord Township is rolling off of his term on that board, so we appreciate one fire chief stepping up to replace another fire chief for the work that they do at the Adams Board. So, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye.
Resolution reappointing Matthew C. Bangerter to the Lake County Public Defender Commission for a 4-year term expiring June 30th, 2030.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $5,343,060.48.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $458,311.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye.
Resolution increasing appropriations for various non-general fund accounts.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye.
Resolution transferring cash and an appropriation within various general and non-general fund accounts.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Aye. This brings us to departmental reports. Utilities?
No report today, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Job and Family Services.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just wanted to provide a reminder that this Thursday, June 11th, at 11:45 will be the 5th annual World Elder Abuse Awareness Day Walk in Lake County. That will take place at Job and Family Services, 177 Main Street. And we will be walking around the square, and then we'll be ending here in the administration building for a brief presentation. All are welcome, and we encourage everyone to wear purple for that event to raise awareness on elder abuse prevention.
Thank you. Out of curiosity, at the reception afterwards, who's going to be the keynote speaker? I think this is important to note.
The one and only Sheriff Frank Leon.
That is fantastic. Now, as educational as the history of this country was today, I assume he'll have a different topic, but maybe we can get another fantastic history lesson on the Declaration of Independence from a man who may or may not have been there when it was drawn up. So, thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
It's just too easy with him. All right, County Administrator.
I have no report, Commissioner.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Yes, our next meeting is next Tuesday again, June 16th at 10 a.m. And there will be an American 250th meeting Thursday, January 18th. I'm sorry, June 18th at 10 a.m.
Let's not fast forward to the winter time.
I did believe there also is a workshop session at 10:30 or following the Commissioners meeting on Tuesday, June 16th. Legal, might I say, it's a good tie, but I like the shirt better today. It goes well. It just goes well with you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Any report?
No reports, Commissioner.
I appreciate that. Gentlemen, is there any old business to come before us?
Mr.
Go ahead.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I just want to share again that our marquee event for America 250 is quickly upon us. It's why we're having so many meetings leading up to July 4th. The Lake County captains are hosting a fireworks show along with several of the West Side cities. And leading up to that, we're going to have a celebrity softball game between the George Washingtons and the King Georges. So it'll be a very patriotic endeavor. We're going to be honoring 100-year birthdays. We're going to have a period costume contest. All of the color guards from the county are invited to kick off the fireworks show with us. This is going to be one special event. And if that weren't enough to get you there, our Visitors Bureau, Tour Lake County, is going to be passing out a commemorative coin so that you can show your children and grandchildren that you were there, but they're only minting 1,000, so be sure to get in line early for the celebrity softball game and fireworks show. Once again, back to the history, I want to encourage all of our public bodies to join us in reading the Declaration of Independence, and at the game, a little bird told me that Thomas Jefferson himself, the author, is going to be there to read the Declaration of Independence. So leading up to that, we hope that many school boards and city councils will do the same so that we can remember that in the United States, all elected officials sit in the throne of the Dukes of Carinthia. All elected officials have their power only by consent of the governed, because all power comes from the people who are created by God.
Thank you. Sir?
Mr. President, just wanted to touch base. I know, we have the SR2 maintenance contract and conversations on our old business, and just to, I'm continuing to have conversations with our municipal leaders, and certainly it is our hope that we're going to construct a new contract going forward to address some legacy issues with the fact that we're operating under a 52-year-old document. So continuing to have conversations in good faith and trying to work amicably towards a cooperative solution to serve all the residents of Lake County and make sure that Route 2 is properly and maintained for the safety of our residents.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I appreciate Mayor Vanny of Willowick reached out. We had a great meeting this week. Had a nice discussion on the topic. Once again, it is not, I can speak for myself, I don't think it is the intent of this Board of Commissioners to absolve or dissolve the relationship here. I think we're simply, at least from my standpoint, this contract, this specific contract needs reworked, as well as I think there's some other financial considerations. And so this is not a negotiating tactic. There are no other optics to go into this other than simply this contract needs to be updated. The current contract, and we've had some discussions with Mayor Vanny as well, about an extension and this and that. At this point, and to keep in mind, we started having meetings about the State Route 2 maintenance agreement August of last year. We have had these conversations. At this point, I don't know that it is feasible to get an extension put in place in time that would have to be approved by all the other councils involved here. And so getting rid of this contract, notice of termination of this contract, which has to be done by June 30th, the contract still runs through the end of the year. So this deadline of June 30th is simply for us to take action to give notice of the termination of the contract. There is no reason whatsoever that we cannot have a new contract signed in July, August. I don't know, you can go all the way up until December 31st if we want to. But this is why we are having this discussion. This is not negotiations. This is not politics. This is not anything ill-willed. This is simply us doing our best job and honoring the contract and not being able to extend the contract without approval from all entities involved, which at this point would not be feasible. So I want to just thank the mayor for the conversation we had this week, and I think the work that you've done. We're very close to getting something done, and once again, that's fine. We have 6 months to get something done. This is just our requirement to give notice of termination. So, thank you. Anything on State Route 2 or okay? Any other old business? Hearing none. Any new business to discuss? If you don't mind, I'd like to go through a couple numbers before we start.
I'd like to just address a couple of the comments that
Yes.
were just very briefly.
Yes.
First off, to the resident from Wickliffe, I apologize for not responding to email. I got quite a few, may have gotten behind or overlooked a few responses. So I will look for your email and write some information back to clarify a few things. This is a challenging discussion decision that we face. I know that you gentlemen have made the decision before. I have not weighed in on this yet. And there's a lot of things pulling at this. We've got seniors, and we've got inflation, we've got historic increase of tax. At the same time, the schools are grappling with a lot of issues. And as I referenced last week, county commissioners have been put in a spot to make a pretty significant impact to school funding. And what I have seen is a couple things. Yes, enrollment is declining, but costs are going up substantially, and the schools are definitely struggling with it. Many of them have been reducing their budgets and cutting as their enrollment is declining. And at the same time, these reductions have come in. I would say with certainty, I'm nowhere near at the point where I could be articulate and specific with respect to school budgets, but I do know that they are working hard under constrained situations, and this is not I don't view the situation as very black and white in one way or the other. This is a difficult situation we all face, and we do need, and I'm very focused on finding some common ground and a solution to this, challenging to meeting all these challenges. So as we get close to this decision, I'll fill in more detail there.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
similarly, I want to share my thoughts with those who came to share theirs in public portion. I actually had the opportunity to meet with the superintendent of Kirtland. He had asked to meet with me. I, very next day, got together with him in downtown Willoughby, and as we walked through the park and talked, we talked about how elected officials and those who we employ, like a superintendent, we ultimately serve everyone. And I'm disappointed by how some people have taken a narrow view where I've got to get mine. It's got to be for me, and I'm not really worried about the consequence to others. I have to represent the entire county and everyone in it. That's the right thing to do. It's what we're called to do as elected officials. That's really the theme of today in the Declaration of Independence. We exercise authority only by consent of the governed, only from the people, not just a few people, all of the people. And the superintendent was very blunt with me. He's like, I could throw my parents at you, my school board members, and say, don't double the piggyback, don't do it, and try, like I could make it politically uncomfortable for you. And I said, you could, but that's divisive. I said, it won't work. It won't change my mind that some people selfishly say, I'm not worried about whether seniors on a fixed income can afford to stay in their homes. I'm not worried about homeowners and those tax increases. I'm just worried about my budget. And I understand that because we all have to be worried about our budget, whether it's our personal budget at the kitchen table, our government budget if we're a fiduciary, representing the taxpayer. It's not wrong to put your budget as your priority because you're only responsible for your budget. But as a county commissioner, I have to look at the whole county, not just one part of it. I don't have the luxury of just being biased in favor of one government entity or one person or one group. I have to consider what's best for everybody. And I said to the superintendent, you could take that divisive turn. You could just pound the table and say, we're losing money from this. We want it back. I'm not worried about whether seniors can afford it. I'm not worried about whether homeowners can afford it. I just have to defend my school. And your school is important. It's not an evil thing to fight for education. I'm an educator. I believe in education. I support it, and I have my entire life. But I said to him, here's what would be more productive. You're not going to change my mind by being political. Lord knows I get more politics than I know what to do with. I'm going to do what I believe is right no matter how much pressure you put on me. So it's a wasted effort. And I don't think you're going to change the mind of any commissioner because I think that they're going to make the decision that they believe is right regardless of how many people you throw at us. And I appreciate his frankness that he talked about just trying to be political and pressuring the commissioners. I said, here's what I would do if I were in your shoes. I said, I would recognize that the problem is bigger than this, that it's not seniors versus students or teachers versus homeowners. That's a false dichotomy. You can want good public schools and meaningful tax relief at the same time. Those are not inconsistent goals. You can care about students and teachers, and seniors and homeowners too. And guess what I do? I am a teacher, and I'm a homeowner. I'm a public official. Well, many of us have worn many hats throughout our lives, and we're capable of empathy. We can care about people other than ourselves in our one particular position, and we can think about what's best for everyone, not just us in this one moment in time. I said, here's what would be right, Mr. Superintendent. It would be pennies for the state legislature to backfill the doubling of the homestead exemption and the owner occupancy credit. Instead of pressuring 3 commissioners who are doing their best to manage the competing interests and trying to do what's best for everyone, instead of putting more pressure on us when we're just trying to do the right thing in the first place, what if we all united and pressured Columbus to do the right thing? If and to the extent that public schools really need more money, it shouldn't be coming off the backs of seniors on a fixed income. It shouldn't be coming off the backs of homeowners who've seen double-digit increases in their home values and property taxes. It should be coming out of the state sales tax and income tax that we already pay. And if you don't need more money because you are spending too much, you need to do better as budgeters. Those, in my mind, are the 2 options for a public school that says, I don't have enough money. Either you're spending too much or you need more from the state. But you cannot go back to the well of the taxpayer over and over and over again, particularly after the unvoted increases from the last reval. And our county auditor who's sitting here today has told us that there's going to be big property tax increases, there's going to be big property value increases for the next reval. So we know it's not going to stop. The state legislature has taken some small actions that will reduce future increases, but not altogether. Property taxes are still going to go up. And the people of Ohio, the people of Lake County, cannot just keep paying more and more and more. That's not a feasible answer. So if the answer of a public school district is, I'm not worried about the people who live here, they can just keep paying more as long as my bills are covered, people are going to ignore you pretty quickly. On the other hand, if you join with us and acknowledge that there are serious problems with state law and we need to go together to reform it, we might be able to do some real good. But just saying, I'm worried about my budget, not the seniors' budget, I'm worried about my budget, not the homeowner's budget, In my mind, the days of that are over. We have to start caring about each other. We have to love our neighbor as ourselves, because only together can our community make meaningful change. If we're just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, I'm fighting over how much money I'm getting from a shrinking pie, guess what? We're all going to be in a bad situation. So I hear both the desperate plea for tax relief and the difficulties of public schools today, but the answer cannot be going back to the overtaxed taxpayer. It is a fact that Ohio is one of the highest tax states in the nation. That's not my opinion, it's a fact. And yet we're not providing the best services. So the day is over where we can say we just need a blank check. Whatever it takes, we have to pay. We have to do more with less, and when we truly need more resources, we have to be asking the biggest budget in the room. We can't keep reshuffling deck chairs in the Titanic. We need to ask the state. And if we fight each other, we're going to have winners and losers. If we work together, we can all win. And I think that's the most important message, that we need to work together to redress our grievances against the tyranny from Columbus.
I appreciated your recital of the declaration, and it kind of reminded me, as well as the sheriff's comments, reminded me of what happens when higher government entities don't listen to the locals. And I just want to kind of go through some numbers that for me are important in this discussion. The property tax discussion is not just about school funding, although I would argue school funding is the biggest issue causing the property tax problem, failure, if you will. Going back in about 2012, 2013 or so, Ohio cut its local government fund from about $1 billion a year down to the $600 million figure, six something. And it took until, I believe, 2023 for it to get back to that level. We're just now right back at around $1 billion that's going into local government fund. And I sit next to a former township trustee and a former council person who can attest to the fact that local government funds coming into your entities pay for your roads, your police, and your fire, and other things. But when you don't have enough money for your roads and your police and your fire, what do you pass? A property tax levy to pay for these services. And when those services and that fund, when the fund was slashed by 40% or so in 2012-ish, local municipalities and townships had to start to pass more taxes. From 2009 to 2023, fiscal years I'm talking about, the state amount of money that they put into our schools rose by about 25 to 30%. And it didn't even keep pace with inflation. Inflation over that period was north of 40. And a study was done for fiscal year 2000 through fiscal year 2022 that showed that adjusted for inflation, the state's portion into our schools actually was negative. Negative 2% was the internal rate, the real rate of return on those funds. And so for whatever you want to look at, a decade, 2 decades, the state did not keep up with just CPI inflation. Just your basic CPI inflation. Study comes out, they start putting more money in 2024, 2025, and they have put more money in, yes. Great job, I'm so proud. But here's the bigger problem for me, is that I went back and I looked at 2018 versus 2025, fiscal year 2018 to fiscal year 2025. And over that time, the revenues per student, so this isn't overall, this is off of the CUP report, which is on the Ohio Department of Education's website. You can pull up all these figures. Revenue per student, not overall, this is per student. This acknowledges the declining enrollment in our state. The revenue per student in 2018 was $14,223. By 2025, that went up to $18,352, an increase of about 29%. When I ran the CPA calculator on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or whatever the calculator I found online, it says if you go off of CPI from 2018 to 2025, that went up by 28%. So revenues matched CPI. Great. I'm proud of us keeping up. Finally, this state has kept up with CPI inflation. But expenses in 2018 went from $11,953 up into 2025 to $17,609, which was an increase of 47%. Now, don't jump to conclusions and think that they're spending too much money or that the expenses are too high, because 57% of a school's budget is salaries. 23% of a school's budget, and this is once again off of the CUP report, the statewide averages, this varies, but statewide, 57% is salaries, 23% are fringe benefits. Fringe benefits consist of health care and retirement benefits. The retirement benefits, as I understand it in the school system, is basically tied to the salary. It's a percentage contribution to the retirement system. And I don't think anybody in the world thinks that health care has only kept up with CPI inflation. I'm not going to put you on the spot, Joel, but I don't think anybody thinks that health care from 2018 to 2025 just kept up with CPI inflation. And so when 70 to 80% of your budget is tied to salaries, I think it's important to have a conversation on what has happened in this country on salaries. And the median hourly wage in 2018 was approximately $15 an hour, $14.99. The median hourly rate in this country right now is around $25 an hour by 2020, fiscal year 2025. It's about 25, it's not 26. And when you look at Ohio, it's a little bit higher than that. It's between 25 and 30. And if you go from $15 an hour to $25 an hour, that is a $10 increase, which is a 67% increase. So wage inflation, which consists of 70 to 80% of a school's budget, is up by 66 to 67%. And a 29% increase in revenues ain't gonna cut it. And we go back to the fact that the core problem is local government was decimated in 2012. Inflation was not kept up with between 2009 to 2023. And from 2018 till today, they haven't kept up with wage inflation. Are there areas to make cuts? Sure. Is there some efficiencies? Sure. But these numbers tell me that the state is not doing its job. They are not funding public education, because in 2008, 18, they were putting in about 42% of the overall funding pie to go into education. By 2025, they're around 37%, and they're forecasted to get to 32% by the fiscal year 2027. Constitution of Ohio requires the state to pay for public education, and they're only putting in, by the fiscal year 2027, approximately 32%. They simply are not doing their job.
Mr. President, if I could just,
Yes,
I wanted
'cause I got
to-
more great numbers. You're
well,
gonna love.
I know you got great numbers. I'd like to just break up the conversation and say that this is something that I've actually spoken with some of our legislators with, and I have a website. It's on. I wrote a short article to this point, or an op-ed piece about a year ago, to exactly this point, in studying the finances of Concord Township, both as a candidate in 2019 and then living through that the last 6 years. I absolutely would say that the money flowing from the state adversely affected the township, and there were a number of things, and I won't go into the detail of them, but it included levies that were required to pay for critical services. The years I was there, it was predominantly public safety, law enforcement, and 911. So independent of your analysis of the schools, I could also speak to the point you're making from a local government perspective as well. And I have made that point to some of our state legislatures as well, saying you've passed tax reform at a high level, given people a break, but the story that's not told is the pressure that puts on local government to, in turn, either get some of that tax back to support their local services. I would argue that's a model that actually works, because it gives the taxpayer greater transparency at the local level to see where their tax dollars are going. It's much easier to look at your township or city budget and see where they're spending money than it is necessarily the state, but there is a disconnect between the actions the state takes and the cost of local government.
And the state may say, oh, but wait, we don't have the money to pay. We've been cutting the income tax because somewhere in this state there is a bunch of people that say, oh my, income taxes are way too high, which I haven't heard. I don't know if you've heard. I've heard property taxes are way too high. But even with the income tax reductions over the past 8 to 10 years or so, in 2018, the state brought into the general revenue fund. So I looked up the revenues and expenditures of the state budget. And this is the general revenue fund, the local government fund, and they also have a category in there, LPEF, that is lottery proceeds that go to the educational fund. In 2018, they brought in $34 billion, and they spent $24 billion. So they added approximately $10 billion to their rainy day fund, if you will, or to surplus, or to do something with. By 2025, even with all of the income tax cuts that we have seen, they brought in $46.5 billion, but they only spent $34 billion, which means, I'm sorry, $32 billion. I wrote that number down wrong. Their rainy day fund and their surplus has gone from $10 billion to $14.5 billion per year. So they have the money to spend, I guess is the argument. To your point, they could double the owner occupancy and they could pay for that. I believe that's about $1.5 billion that comes back in the form of the piggybacks and the credits, right?
Sales tax revenue this year is about $1.2 billion higher than projected. That alone would nearly pay for it.
And we talked to them, they forecasted a deficit. They forecasted a recession which hasn't hit yet. And I appreciate that. My point is there's an extra $4.5 billion from 2018 on top of the $10 billion. There's an extra $4.5 billion. They could double the local government fund to $2 billion, and they could pick up the entirety of what we, of one of 3 counties, have done here in doubling the owner occupancy and homestead, and still have $12 billion surplus. And so, I do not think it is time to overthrow the government. Luckily here in this state, we have this wonderful thing called elections. Every 2 years, we have an opportunity to vote on our state reps. And every 2 to 4 years, we have an opportunity to vote on our state senators. And I think that our state senator, and in my opinion, there's 2 things that need to be done in the short term. I think that everything you said is correct. We have got to get together and go to the state and say, okay, this guy in Lake County rattled off these numbers, and they make kind of sense to me. What's going on? Why aren't you keeping up with wage inflation? Why aren't you acknowledging the fact that these schools are being defunded? Why aren't you letting local governments provide roads, police, and fire to their citizens and still pocketing this much money more than you were already pocketing over the last 8 years? That's step one. But in the meantime, I do think that we have to go to those school districts, and I have said before, Kirtland is one of those school districts that I believe is doing it right. Right? I know your superintendent doesn't get paid much. I know you have like 3 full-time employees in your administration, and the rest of what you do is shared services. I've looked at the numbers, right? I've advocated and talked about Mentor School District, cutting $2 million a year, making changes, doing the work that unfortunately needs to be done, or fortunately needs to be done, to reflect the wills of the community. And in those school districts where the administrations and the boards are doing their job, in my humble opinion, the opportunity has got to go back out to the taxpayers and say, listen folks, we're doing our job here locally as well the best we can do. And we're also screaming our lungs out at Columbus to say you're not doing your job. Either do your job or quit your job. One or the other.
Mr. President,
But in the meantime, I want to say, go give the voters an option. Put a levy up. No Republican likes to hear that, but I'll say it. Put a levy up. If Kirtland as a small community says, you know what, we value education, I'm going to go ahead and put a levy on the ballot and say, let the voters choose. And then that's your direction, is what I would advocate for. Each school district is different in this county. There are vast differences in the school districts in this county, which is once again a problem of the system, and I apologize.
No, it's fine, and I'd just like to add to that, I think also in my diligence in meeting with the schools and having conversation with them, to realize that you take a look at a Kirtland, a Willoughby, East Lake, a Mentor, a City of Painesville, Madison, the effect of the schools is all very different across. You know, I had a meeting with the ESC and they all gave reports and it was very different. They've all got different circumstances. There's been changes to the property tax reform the state legislature passed after this Board of Commissioners adopted the piggybacks. And it affected, even those legislative changes affected the different school districts not the same. So when you sit there and take a look at the decision the commissioners here have to make, and again, I have to make this for the first time, it's not a uniform impact. It's a very on-off switch. I choose to do one thing or the other or both. And it's a simple decision for me, but the effect is very different across every district, and that's what makes it a more challenging conversation. I thank you for your diligence. I know you've put a lot of energy and hard work into this, and I'm grateful to be able to sit here as a benefit from that knowledge that you've pulled together, because it's very enlightening.
Thank you. Any other new business? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner McIntosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Beveridge?
Yes, you're adjourned.